Welcome back. In a big relief to flyers, Aviation Ministry has ordered the airlines not to charge any additional fee while issuing boarding pass at check-in counters at airports. The ministry in its notification said that such charges are not justifiable under the aviation rules. Now, earlier, few airlines charged a fee of about 200 rupees if a passenger wanted the boarding pass to be issued at the check-in counter. This additional amount, however, was not in accordance with the instructions according to the provisions of the aircraft rules. Indigo has issued a statement saying that it will comply with rules and regulations. So that's the big story coming in from the aviation sector. Now, air travelers will now no longer need to pay an extra fee about 200 rupees per person to check in at the airport counters at a time when record high jet fuel prices and record low rupee have forced airlines to steeply hike fares. Is this relief for you, the passenger? We have thrown our phone lines open. You can call us on the number on your screens to share your comments and concerns. And if you have any queries, we can try and answer them as well. Joining us this afternoon is Dr. Sanat Kaul, former Civil Aviation Joint Secretary of the Government of India. Also will be joined by Surveshwar Sarvesh, a frequent airline passenger. But before we take in the callers, let me come to Mr. Kaul. Mr. Kaul, do you welcome this step by the government looking from the passenger point of view?
Yes, I do. And there are two issues involved. One is that low-cost airlines have evolved the model over time where they start charging for everything, which is fair because they keep the ticket price low. And this is more in Europe, which is happening. And they would not even allow a check baggage and things like that and charge for everything. However, I think Indian situation is a little different. In fact, in Barcelona, they were charging, in Spain, they were charging 40 euros for a boarding pass, which was struck down by a court. Now, in India, the situation is slightly different because as of today, a minimum price is being fixed by the government for tickets between 2 points, two airports. And therefore, there is no need to create, because when the minimum price is fixed, I presume all costs, including boarding passes, are taken into account. So therefore, there is no really any excuse for airlines to charge for boarding pass. They cannot produce the ticket price and then they say, well, these are add-ons. And of course, if you print your own boarding pass at home, then you don't get charged. But this is not justified today in India because they're already fixing a minimum ticket price for a particular journey.
But do you think it is the airline's prerogative to charge what they want to from the passenger? Do you think that decision should be solely of the airline and not of the government? What is your take on that?
No, when you have an open price policy and low-cost airlines everywhere have been charging for various services. Now, ticket boarding pass is an unusual thing because it is part of the ticket. And therefore, that I think is not justified, but they keep charging for small things also. Now, here in India, just now, around the COVID time, a minimum ticket price is being fixed or from one point to the other. And this price is fixed by the DGCA after taking into account everything. So I don't see any logic in their charging extra amount when no other competitive airline go below that point. And in fact, they are also fixing an upper ceiling, but that is not what we are considering just now. So if they can't lower than that to compete with the other airlines, there's a minimum price, then there is no justification for charging extra for the boarding pass.
You know, Dr. Kaul, your airline officials have said that it was a commercial decision of the airlines to levy a charge on passengers checking in at airports. Now that the ministry is deciding what can and can't be charged, that was supposed to be a decision of the airlines. That's what they say. They must remove the domestic airfare bans also. These fare bans have not been revised despite the steep hike in jet fuel price and the steep depreciation of the rupee. Do you agree with that standpoint?
Well, I don't know. There is now a minimum band and a maximum band. Now, what asking for removal, the lower band or the upper band. And yes, in a way.
They are saying remove these bans. If the government is taking all the decisions, let government remove these bans as well.
No, I mean, the bans were not there earlier before COVID. So now that the COVID is over, let the free market rule. There is some justification because if you are having a free market situation where airlines are competing with each other, then one airline says, I want to go down lower. They do all these marketing tricks of going down, going up. But there is some justification by government because very low prices and very high prices do impact on the customers. And therefore, and this is provided for under the aircraft rules that prerogative prices and this other word for going very low and going very high can be looked into by DGCA, and they've done that now. So it's a mixed thing. I can't give a firm view off the cuff, but if you are going in for highly competitive airline, then there is justification also for them to charge what they want. They are very efficient and they can lower the prices. They can, and that's why what they do is they charge for things like boarding costs, which I think is not justified, but for so many other minor things they charge. For a particular seat, you want to sit by the window, you want to sit by the aisle, the central seat. So all these things are becoming a part of the competitiveness which the airlines are now wanting to be back. This was stopped during COVID time, and a minimum price between two locations was fixed by the government.
Yes.
As well as the upper limit was fixed.
So, Dr. Kaul, if I understand you correctly, you're saying that the charging, like the other charges for the aisle seat, for the window seat, for the front seat, for a seat with extra legroom, are those charges justified, or will the government all dictate terms on that as well?
Listen, this is a matter of looking how you look at the things. If you want a pure competition, then I think it is justified. But if you think it's going beyond that and there is no justification, so it's a perspective. If you feel that the airlines must compete with each other and offer the customer the best price, the lowest price, then you allow all these things. However, in the time of emergency and the time of rush, the time of festivity, the prices go sky high too. So it's a mix of both. Now, the preference to which model does Government of India want, which model the Indian people want, is for the government to decide, or is for the people to decide. And therefore, I will not like to make a comment on which is the better model. Somewhere, I think a fixing of a minimum price is not a bad idea in India, because it really inconveniences a lot of people. The prices go sky high. And when the prices are lower to 1 rupee a ticket and all, that becomes a prerogatory pricing. And in fact, it's sort of unfair competition. The Competition Commission could even look into this. So I think.
All right.
I mean, it's a matter of how you look at it. It's a value judgment which you have to take. And I feel that some sort of...
Dr. Kaul, stay with us, also joining us. Yes. Yes. All right, Dr. Kaul. Sarvesh, frequent airline passenger, also joining us. Good afternoon, Mr. Sarvesh. Do you welcome this move by the government that there will be now no extra charge for taking a boarding pass at the check-in counters?
Certainly, it's a very good move by the central government, and we, like daily commuters, is desperately welcoming this move. The government of India is currently standing rock solid with the country, all the passengers, because as we have witnessed already the worst century-old pandemic, and at this time, this hike is definitely like burn out our pocket. We finding different websites for saving our 200, 300 rupees. And at the time of now, we have already paying for the, as you mentioned, the aisle seat, for the middle seat or the window seat. But this boarding charge, passes charge is certainly, it is, you can say that a ridiculous decision by the airline. And I thank to the government of India for this decision, and we are very happy.
All right, Mr. Sarvesh, but I want to ask you, you know, this is a marginal sort of a relief for passengers like you. You are a frequent flyer. Tell me something. Would your choice of the airline depend on this decision of the airline to charge a boarding pass for the boarding pass at the check-in counter? Will that impact your choice of the airline you're taking, or is it more about time of the airline and the punctuality, of course?
See, first, you said the time and the punctuality of the airlines. Basically, I am preferring for that because I wanted to save my time. So that is more beneficial for me instead of saving money. But it is also one of the good things. If, as I told you, I am searching different websites where the prices is low and searching that. So at the time of if I'll save rupees, it is also good for me. But the time and the punctuality of the airlines is also important for me. So searching, if I'll go by Indigo or by searching Vistara, so it also matters for me. But at this time, saving money is also as much as important the time and the punctuality of the airline.
All right, saving money is also important. Ramesh Kumar joining us from Kerala. Mr. Kumar, go ahead with your comment.
Yeah, good afternoon. I fully appreciate the decision of DGCA in asking the airlines not to charge for the boarding pass. I think it is purely unjustified. Moreover, if I go for a web check-in, I don't have a choice of seats. Only the middle row is available. Because the aisle seat and the window seats are all chargeable. I think something should be looked, the airline should look into the aspect also. And it's a good decision taken by DGCA. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Mr. Kumar. Mr. Sarvesh, would you like to take that? Do you think that the charges for the window seat, for the aisle seat, for the seat with the extra legroom, should they also be relooked at?
If there is a scope for that, then definitely Scindia sir will definitely look into this matter. But as you know, that fuel charges is also so airlines is looking in that matter, or because we are paying for the seat and we are habitual for that. But for this hike, for the boarding pass, we are not habitual, and this is the extra burden on the passenger. So we are not ready to give pay for this hike. But if the Ministry of Aviation will look into the aisle seat and the window seat, it is also a very good decision if they will look into this matter.
So you're okay paying for the paying extra charge for the seats, a particular preference seat, but you don't think that extra charge for the boarding pass at the check-in counters is correct?
Yeah, it is not justified. You cannot justify that. If they are issuing the boarding pass on the counter and they are charging, so this is totally not justified. So we are not ready to pay for this thing, but we are okay because whatever the aisle seat they are charging or the window seat, we have already paid for that. So now it's a habitual. Every passenger knows that okay, middle seat is free, and the aisle seat and the window seat is paid. So if you wanted to take window seat, you should pay a certain amount. But we are not ready to pay for the boarding pass on the counter.
All right, Dr. Kaul, let me bring you in once again. Let's talk about, we have spoken a lot about the passengers' point of view. Let's also talk about the airlines' point of view. They've suffered hugely due to COVID lockdowns. They have to rebound now. Do you think these charges should be the prerogative of the airlines? How else do you think the airlines can, recover the losses? Because jobs could be at stake there as well.
This is what I was referring to earlier, that yes, airlines have to make money, but the low-cost airlines have a particular model. The non-low-cost airlines have a separate model. In the low-cost airline, they will say, okay, we'll give you a bare seat. If you want a left side seat or right-hand window seat, you pay extra. But their ticket price is low. Therefore, if you bring your own boarding pass, they will not charge you. But if you want a printout, they will charge you. However, this has been done away with in India just now by putting a minimum charge on a particular route. But if Delhi to Bombay, you can't charge less than X amount. Therefore, there is no competition of that sort in India, and therefore there is no justification. But however, if they remove that, then all these things come into play. You bring your own boarding pass and you're not charged 200 rupees. So these are the issues which are coming up. The model has to be decided. What model you want now? Which kind of model? Totally free market model in which the airline can lower the price, but don't give minimum facilities, and for every extra facility you pay. Or you go for a minimum ticket price, and there certain things have to be included in that. Perhaps a boarding pass should be part of that.
So which is the model you've been, sir, Dr. Kaul, you've been part of the aviation ministry. Which model is a better suited model which can strike a balance between that? Because airlines also need to earn money. The passengers' interest should also be kept in mind.
No. This is not a question of passenger. Passengers all want everything cheap and free. So that part is okay. That as a passenger, I would also love that. But you have to look at it, what kind of model you want in this country. Do you want free competition? You want restricted competition? You want totally control? Today, railways don't have any ticket fluctuation at all. Whereas if you go to England, you find a railway ticket in the morning is different from railway ticket in the afternoon. They've also gone in for fluctuating prices because they see the demand changing. So you have to decide, the country has to decide, the ministry has to decide, the passengers have to decide what model do we want to adopt. So it's very difficult for me to give an answer.
What model do we want to follow?
I may have a particular preference, but that doesn't make a difference. You want more competition in the country?
All right.
Then you go
yes.
But then you have to remove these
barriers.
barriers.
Dr. Kaul, hold your thought there. We have another caller, Lakshmi Narayan, calling from Delhi. Lakshmi Narayan, go ahead.
The baggage and the domestic 45 kg was allowed to the passenger, and it used to 15 kg. And the 1 or 2 kg extra, they charge the money. But whereas passenger doesn't have checking baggage and water, they charge from the available in full time price. And passenger doesn't want to go.
Okay, Mr. Narayan, your line is not clear. I would request you to call us once again. Sorry, your line is not clear, Mr. Narayan. Call us once again because we couldn't understand really what you were getting at. But Mr. Sarvesh, one final question to you. What do you think is a model that is best suited to balance the interests of the flyers, the passengers, and also the airlines?
See, look, whatever the model is going on, like they are charging for the seats, like preferential seats, either a window seat or a aisle seat. But this model, if they are saying if you collect the boarding pass on the counter, you should pay 200 rupees and something like that, this is totally not acceptable. Neither by the passenger nor by the even
yes.
I think even the ministry also should give the go ahead to the airlines industry, because okay, we are agreed that passengers wants only three things like reduced rate, not the free thing. We as a passenger want the reduced rates. Like if one airline is giving me 200 less price, but we also look into the amenities as well as you just mentioned about the time and punctuality. So models should be friendly with the consumer as well as the country also.
Because the airlines argue that, there's a steep hike in jet fuel prices, there's a steep depreciation of the rupee. So these fare bands, which are now applicable on a 15-day rolling basis, have not been revised despite these conditions that are happening. And they are saying that the government must remove these domestic airfare bans as well. That's what the airline officials are saying.
Yeah, that's. I said due to that, ministry should look into this. Like for the hike in the prices of air fuel, that is the major concern for the airline industry, and airlines industry should contact to the ministry regarding this. But if you wanted to bucks on the normal passenger, it will definitely not accepted.
All right.
Not accepted at any cost.
Yes, yes. All right, Mr. Sarvesh and Dr. Sanat Kaul, thanks very much for joining us with your perspective on this rather important story. That's the time we have on this bulletin.